When it comes to a particular type of weather being associated with a specific calendar date, the notion of a white Christmas is as ingrained in American culture as any other, and that probably won't change anytime soon. But what has changed is the likelihood of getting a white Christmas. Now, to explore this idea, I'll use the standard definition of a white Christmas, at least an inch of snow on the ground on Christmas Day. Let's start with the big picture. Here's average December temperature for the lower 48 states for each year back to 1960. Now, I'm starting in 1960 for a few reasons. That gives us 60 years of data, so two 30-year periods. And 30 years is what the Weather Service uses to define the so-called normals. Also, snow cover isn't as commonly measured as temperature and precipitation, so I can only go back so far and have enough data. Now, here's the trend line. Shows an increase of about 3 degrees on average over the last 60 years. So the overall climate in the lower 48 in December is warming. Here's that same plot, but just for Pennsylvania. It too shows a warming since 1960 in December, but by 4 or 5 degrees on average. Now let's look at some specific cities. I've picked 15 in the northern half of the lower 48 that regularly get snow, geographically diverse from Helena and Salt Lake City in the west to Burlington and Washington, D.C. in the east. In yellow is the percentage of years in the earlier 30-year period, 1961 to 1990, that had a white Christmas. The number in blue is that percentage in the more recent 30-year period, 1991 to 2020. For 11 of the 15 cities, the percentage decreased, generally by 10 to 20%. For 2 cities, the percentage didn't change, and for 2 cities, it went up, but in both those cases by just a few percent, which represents just one winter, essentially statistically insignificant. Now let's look at Pennsylvania. I've chosen 10 places and tried to capture the different climates of the state. Confluence and Susquehanna have the best quality snow cover data in their part of the state, thus those choices. At 8 of the 10, the probability of a white Christmas has dropped in the last 30 years compared to the previous 30, once again generally by 10 to 20%, while in Bradford and Philadelphia, the likelihood didn't change. And by the way, if you sense that the last decade has been pretty sparse when it comes to snow on the ground on Christmas Day, you're right. Here's the number of white Christmases in the last 10 years at each place. Only 2 in Erie and State College, none in Allentown, Harrisburg, and Philadelphia. The last time there was 2009, and before that, 1998. Snow or not, I wish you and yours a safe and happy holiday season.